With each breath we give away, it'll never be the same. I'm chasing somebody who won't ever ease the pain, but I don't want half of your heart, heart, heart. You can have it back if it's only half of your heart. If it's only half of your heart. I feel like I'm afraid are the only things I can't change. I live life on a page that was written too long ago. I don't want half of your heart, heart, heart. You can have it back if it's only half of your heart.
Welcome everybody to the live stream. Let me switch over cameras and switch off the music. Quick. There we go. Got a great build for you today, guys. This is a gamer's build, so it is a system build number 38. It is built with a newer processor, newer graphic card, as well as a new case. So let's jump right into it. Let me show you guys what you're going to need first to actually build this build. By the way, all the parts and everything else are down in the description. So if you want to do the same type of build, you can get all the parts from there or wherever you want to purchase from. So what we're going to need to start with is we're going to need a few tools. We're going to need, obviously, some wire ties, USB flash drive, a pair of clippers, a knife, and a screwdriver. That's about all you're going to really need. Phillips screwdriver, I think there's a bit one or two. I think it's a one. So let's get to it. Let me go through I'm going to go through all the products as we go and kind of build the pieces together instead of actually giving you all the products out all at once, because there's a lot to go through and I don't have that much room on this desk. So we're going to start with the motherboard first, and we're going to open this bad boy up. It is an ASUS Tough Gaming B850-E Wi-Fi. It is actually a really great motherboard. This is really kind of a really good, more than entry-level board for any type of gaming unit or home office, if you're into that. Let's get all this stuff out. Comes with, obviously, the Wi-Fi adapter itself. I'm going to put that up to the side. We're not going to use that today. Get the motherboard out. That's a big boy. Motherboard itself, obviously, we have down below a few more little accessories and stuff. Box out of there. Some stickers, which is going to go to the customer, and the manual, which is going to go to the side. We're going to have a few important screws here. These are going to be the screws for your NVMe drives, so we're going to obviously put those in. Still the same screw for another NVMe and some sort of spacer. M2 rubber, so it's probably basically for like the spacer between the motherboard and the thing. Got some SATA cables. We're going to put those off to the side. We're not going to use these today. We're only using NVMe, but if you want to upgrade the hard drive later, you've got them. So put this off to the side here, and we're going to build right on top of the box. And take it out of its anti-static sleeve. Okay. This board's a little larger than the ones that we're normally used to around here, so we're just going to go with everything that's basically on this board. There's a lot to cover, so I'm going to go pretty quick. If you guys want to watch this in playback again, you can always watch it back in playback. It'll always be uploaded after the stream is done. For our slots, we're going to basically, we have 4 RAM sockets. We're only going to be using 2 of them. We're going to be using only A2 and B2, which is the ones that I opened here, which are the gray sockets. It's going to be in dual channel mode. So we're going to do that. For the regular parts of the board, we obviously have your CPU socket. Up at the top, you have your CPU fan. Some extra fan connectors for pumps or anything else that you're utilizing. Actually, this is the pump. These are the CPU fans. Reverse them, and they're actually labeled. And we also have, obviously, power for the motherboard itself and power for the motherboard. And you've also got front USB-C headers, which is basically a Type-C connector, or USB 3.2, I think. Looks like a 3.2 header. Some SATA connections for if you have any type of SATA hard drives, they would be plugged in here. We're not doing that today, but if you do have a SATA drive, you can plug it there. Your primary M2 dot socket, which is going to be for your NVMe, is right here below the, well, above the graphic card slot. You also have another NVMe down here, as well as another here. This is a 3 NVMe motherboard, so you have a little more extra expandability for the future. Down below at the bottom here, we have more SATA ports, as well as the front panel connectors. This is the only time you're going to probably be able to see the front panel connectors. There are some labels here that explain how they're connected to the front panel, like hard drive, power light, etc. Power button. And then down here you also have some USB 2.0 connections and another USB 2.0, it's audio. Nope, that's a communication port. So if you have a COM port, you can put that on there. You read out your front audio port down here as well. And if you actually use front audio, you can plug it in there if you have it on your case. This is really just common debug. We're not going to use that today, hopefully. And we have chassis fan 1, 2, and 3, 4. We do not have any fans for the internal part of this case. We may add them later if the temperatures are bad. We will see later, see if it's needed. Right now we have the ability to do it, at least if we have to. This board has already got a covered I/O with a covered I/O shield already, an I/O shield in place, so we don't have to remember it or forget it, which is always awesome. So that's there. We're going to take the little piece of plastic off before I forget. And then I have to take apart the whole machine to take this off, which is a real pain. So we're just going to do that now. The I/O shield itself has got labels on it for all of the pieces. You got your HDMI, your display port, which we're not going to use because this is onboard video. We're going to be using a graphic card, so we won't be using that. You do have a BIOS flashback utility, as well as USB 5G ports, which are probably the faster ones. You also have one labeled for BIOS, so if you're going to do a BIOS flashback, you would use that. You have USB 2.0 for your keyboard and mouse, and you have your 10G USB, which is a lot faster. So this for your like external hard drives or maybe a webcam or something that needs a little more performance. The networking on here is 2.5 gigabits, which is a little faster than most. It's not 1 gigabit, it's 2.5, just in case. Wi-Fi is a Wi-Fi 6E, and of course your audio jacks, which are mic in, line out, and line in, nicely labeled and very much in view. Obviously, the whole entire I/O shield is attached to this board, so it's going to be a really easy install for that. We're going to bring this back over, just double check to make sure there are no more stickers that need to be taken off. I don't see any, so we should be good to go at this point and ready to go. Little note about this board that's a little different than other boards when it comes to the GPU socket. Your GPU socket is right here. It also has a little push button here. This push button allows you to eject the graphic card a little easier because it's way out here and you don't have to worry about like getting very close to the board to actually pull it apart. So this is a little nicer. It's a little nifty feature to have. It's not something everybody needs, but if you need to change your graphic card, it's a little easier just to push a little button than it is to push down here where it normally is, which is further back on the socket. So it's a little easier to get at. All right, let's start with building things out. We're going to start with the processor. The processor is an AMD Ryzen 7. It is a Ryzen 7 7800X 3D. This is a pretty decent gaming processor. For most games, you're not going to have any issues. Plays most of the library that's out there right now at the current time. Let's get the board, let's get the processor out of the box. A lot of plastic. This one does not come with a CPU fan. So we are a CPU fan and heatsink, so we are going to be putting a custom one in. That's also something we have to think about before we put it into the case, is placement and how it's going to fit. So let's get this out of the way. All right. Starting with the socket, this is very, very, very delicate work at this point, so you really should not be doing anything really hasty here. Obviously, keep the CPU in its little CPU holder until you're about to put it in, because the bottom does not have pins, but it is very sensitive to dirt, oil, and other stuff. So try not to touch the bottom. You should be only touching the CPU from the sides, from this side or these sides by pinching it. So what you're going to do is you're going to basically open up the socket first. To do that, you're going to lift up the little tension arm, pull the arm up, and then you're going to pull the socket up. Once you have the socket open, just inspect that the pins are all perfectly fine. It's a little hard to see, but the pins are down there. They're very, 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 very small. If you need a little reference, you can double check by putting this back down and see where the little arrow is that's on the cover. That arrow is going to match the arrow on the processor. So I'm going to lift this back up, be very gentle again. Leave the cover on until you're about to push down on the CPU socket. It'll pop off by itself. So let's open this back up. Let's open up the CPU, and we're going to be very gentle and just try to grab it from its sides without touching the sides too much. There we go. Now on the bottom of the CPU, you'll see there's an arrow in the upper left over here, or my upper left. That is going to match the socket on where it's going to lay down. So it's going to be basically arrow to the arrow, which is the arrow up in the upper left corner. By the way, if you want, you can also see there's a little bit of an arrow right there in the upper left that shows where this arrow should line up with that arrow. It should just drop right into the socket. Very gently, do not push hard. It should be lined up, and you should also see that these little divots here, or little cutouts, should line up with the way it was placed. After that's placed down, you're going to put this, cover the socket over. You're going to basically push this retention arm down. That's going to pop off. What should have popped off? There we go. This cover, you want to hold on to this cover. If you need to warranty your motherboard, you will need to put this cover back in place before shipping. So if you need to do that. In this case, we'll probably be fine, but you never know. We keep all the parts off until we're fully done with building the machine to make sure everything is good to go. And when everything's good, then those parts are either returned to the customer if they want them, or they're thrown out or recycled if they are garbage. All right, so we got a lot of screws here. We're going to do the M.2 next. We're not going to put the heatsink and fan on yet because it's going to make this really hard to reach the RAM. So we're going to put the RAM in, and then we're going to put in the M.2. So RAM-wise, we are putting in the G.Skill Flare X5. This is 32 gigs of RAM, two 16 gigabyte sticks. It is DDR5 6000, which is more than fast enough for gaming, so it should be good to go. RAM prices, as you can tell, are really out of crazily over expensive. We're just gonna put these in gently without hopefully making a mess out of the system and getting it out of plastic. I hate plastic. There we go. All right. So there's a little notch here. This notch indicates which way it should go into the board. That notch will follow with the notch that is on the board. So you want to have that same notch going the same direction. Usually you can just line this up really quickly and just take a quick look before you put it down if you got it the right direction. Should just slide in place if yours truly followed his own rules. It's the other way. There we go. Push in. Should hear a click when it's in place. Straight down, by the way. There should be no angles on this. You should not push down with too much force, it should just go straight in to the socket. Again, we're putting them into dual channel mode, so we want to make sure that is the proper ones. And to get that information, it was labeled right here on the board, which tells you exactly which ones are the primary. They have a little marker on them that say first, and it's DIMM A2, DIMM B2, and that's the gray sockets. If you want to upgrade this RAM, you would just add 2 more sticks into A1 and B1. That's pretty much it. Very simple. If you're going to upgrade also, you have to make sure that you have matched memory if you're going to upgrade. Try to match it to whatever you got here. If you can't match it, then you're better off just replacing the whole amount of memory and just go with the faster RAM at that point. All right, some garbage. We're just going to clean up a little bit. Okay. We're going to put the NVMe in next. So this is the hard drive. The hard drive we went with is a Samsung 990 EVO Plus. It's a 1 terabyte drive. Plenty for a decent amount of games with no issue. Obviously, adding more space down the road. This board obviously has more than one M.2, so you got 3. Plenty of room to add if you want to add more on later. I would recommend NVMe drives just because they are faster. But if you need a lot of large storage, then you still have SATA connections for large storage on the cheap. Let's open up the Samsung drive. Let's get this out. So basic cover, just basically a little small manual here. That doesn't come out. Why? Why do they like to waste paper on this? Okay, well, there's a little manual about your solid state drive. If you're interested in that, we're gonna put that off to the side. More interested in the drive. Drive's in here. At least this is recycled paper. That's good. Drive itself obviously looks like kind of like a stick of gum, about the same size, maybe a little bit bigger. And what you're going to do is you're going to basically take this end that's down here, you're going to put that end into the board, and then you're going to put this down with the screw to attach it down to the board. When you attach it down to the board, you're going to leave, it's going to be a little gap between the board and the actual drive itself. We're going to do that right now. We're going to take all of these screws out here. I'm going to use a different screwdriver. It's a little smaller. Let me grab one. I fix it. Doesn't matter what it is. Just grab any small screwdriver. So it's going to be like a small Phillips, I think. It's a pretty small Phillips. The top one, we're going to put it right here with this, right in the line right here, so you get the most amount of speed. If you have a really crazy high-end graphic card, you may want to think about moving your SSD down further, just so it doesn't conflict with the lanes. You might get a better lane coverage. This is something you got to double check with your motherboard. Every motherboard's a little different on how it's wired. Usually this socket's usually the fastest, but it also consumes a little bit of your GPU speed. In this case, the GPU that we're putting in here at the current time really doesn't matter too much because it's not using all those lanes anyway, so it will just borrow a few from there and you'll just get a little bit faster speed. This is not a Phillips. That is a flathead. Okay. That's a new one. We've got it though. All right, so let's start with this stupid socket. These should be captive, but it may not be. I don't know. We'll find out in a second if they're captive. Captive screw, it just means that it's held into the to the plate that's above this. They don't look like they're captive, so I'm just going to leave that the way it is. It's fine. On the bottom here, you're going to see a little piece of tape that we're going to have to pull to remove. That's going to basically put the adhesive that's out there, which is not adhesive, I'm sorry. It's a thermal pad. So the thermal pad is basically going to attach and touch the drive that goes in there to dispense heat a little bit better. Disperse heat a little bit better, I'm sorry. What we're going to do is we're just going to flip this over and leave this over here in the tray so we don't lose the screws. And we're going to put the drive in place. So there is a screw and a holder here. This is a new type of holder. So I'm just going to probably pull this up, which I think is what we're supposed to do. We'll find out in a second. Actually, that's flat to the bottom. I think that's just to hold it in place. What we're going to do is we're going to take the communication side, we're going to put it into this socket on about a 45-degree angle. It's going to slide in. And then you're going to push down. And you're going to have a spot to put that screw that we basically got from the motherboard. So the motherboard box has got a screw in here somewhere. Which one is it? Oh, one doesn't have a standoff, so it's not that one. It is this one. Oh, wow, these are really small. I don't know if we can even get this on camera. Let's try. Come on, get out. All right, so, wow. This is one of the smallest screws ever. Do not lose that. And that is a Phillips. Yeah, it's a very small Phillips, probably a Phillips size 0. Looks like 0 or 00. 00. It's probably a 00. Just double check. Yeah, it's a 00. And that screw is going to go right here so that the drive doesn't go up. And it's held in place. It's a very simple screw, but if you miss it, it's not that big of a deal because it has a cover. But if it doesn't have a cover, then this becomes a problem. Actually, now that I'm looking at this, this screw doesn't go here. It does fit, but the cover actually goes there. So this screw is going to go down here for his other drive if he needs another drive. There you go. We're going to put this back on top of this. We're going to remove the thermal thing. Actually, these are capped. Okay, these are captive. All right, so we want to remove the little bit of plastic here. If I can get it up without my fingers only making a mess out of it. Okay, there we go. So the thermal pad is going to touch the bottom. We're going to basically flip that over. After that's removed, we're going to flip it over. That screw is going to be aligned with the screw that is in the plates, which I'll be dropping it. All right, I'm just going to put that in place. And we're going to use a flathead to screw those back down. Same thing over here. Get it started on both sides so it kind of goes down evenly. And then you can just screw it down the rest of the way. Again, just snug. You don't need to go really tight with this. You know, just make sure it's down so it doesn't wobble. A little wobble test. There's no wobble. All right. That's the initial drive. There are no 2 drives on this machine, so it's only 1 drive. So we're just going to take all this other stuff, toss this stuff out, or put it off to recycle. It is paper, so probably should be. I'm not sure what's in here. I'm just curious. I think this is just a warranty and the installation guide, but oh my god. Can we get smaller text? All right, so it basically goes over what I was talking about. So, yeah. I'm not going to keep that. All right, so the other stuff comes with it, basically a little bumper. This bumper goes for that little plastic bumper that's, sorry, there's a little plastic bumper that's down here. That is just another replacement for it. I don't know if we need to really install this because we don't have another drive, but I'm going to install the little platform piece so we don't end up losing that. I'm going to put that into this last socket here just so it's there. I'm going to choose 2280 because that's the standard size for most M.2s. So it's just here and it's ready to go. So the customer doesn't lose it because we all know if I lose stuff, we know that the customer will definitely lose stuff, so we don't want that. And we can't get another one, so we definitely want to put that in place. This is a really small standoff and screw. And we're just going to put it at the 2280 mark, because that is usually the standard for the drives. Just going to try a small nut driver to get this down. That's too small. All right, so we need a little bit bigger nut driver. There we go. So let's put the nut driver on there. We're just going to push this into 2280. My fingers are not that small, so that's why I'm using a nut driver instead. There we go. The nut driver size was a 5.0. Whatever that is. All right, so let's put that there, and then we'd also screw down the screw. The screw is so small. All right, so I'm just gonna put the screw right on top of that standoff, just so it's there. It's ready for a drive to be installed. You want to make sure it's down enough so that it just doesn't come out. You don't need to strong arm it, just get it in there. All right, the other one already has a screw, so this one's screwed already in. This is already ready to go. That's for another drive. Again, I don't see another cover here, which is weird because they get a standoff going this direction, which usually means that there should be a cover. But there's no cover, which is odd. Maybe it's a thing. I'm gonna have to double check the manual to make sure we got everything with this board, because that makes me feel like we're missing something. The board was sealed when we got it, but that doesn't mean too much because anybody can open it and then close it. All right. That's it for the board right now. We're gonna have to put it into the case, and we have to also get the heatsink and fan on there. Maybe we should do the heatsink fan first. Let me check how complicated the heatsink and fan is, because this is a different one than I usually use. It is a custom one. I say custom, but third party, I guess, is the better way to put that. Let's see what it is, what it looks like, and let's go from there. I don't think we need the iFix. It should be small screws at this point. All right, let's grab the cooler. Oh, God. All right, so the cooler is a Peerless Assassin 120 SE ARGB. I'm not sure if I put this into the description below. Hopefully I did. It's a Thermalright. It's a decent cooler. Very large cooler. But hey, you know, there's nothing wrong with a large cooler. So let's get this open. Where are we at? Where are we at? This is horrible. There we go. Okay, so it just opens up down from up, top down. We're just gonna grab everything out of it. Don't need the cardboard. Comes with 2 fans and a heatsink cooler, and I think this is RGB. It's ARGB. All right. It's got some color to it. I'll plug it in, but I'm going to guarantee you that it's probably going to be rainbow puke colors, so which is always the default for everything. All right, it comes with a nice little accessories package. Let's take a look at the accessories. Make sure we got everything we need. Okay. Cardboard. It's going to come probably with 2 different brackets, one for Intel, one for AMD. And it comes with some thermal paste. I don't know if I like that thermal paste. We're going to probably use something different. We'll probably use something different. But let's get everything out of the package. Is it labeled? Oh, it's kind of labeled. All right, this is your Intel brackets, obviously. That is not this. We're not using that. Put that off to the side for now. This is an AM4 AM5. Yeah, it's AM4 and AM5, so I'm gonna need this open. All the lovely screws that come with it, and little washers and standoff washers. A lot of plastic, sorry guys. All right. So it's down here for a minute. Plastic garbage. All right. Okay. There is one labeled AM4. AM4 is not what we're using. So this is the older AMD socket. That's not what we're using. Just want to show it though. It does say AM4 on it. So we're going to put that off to the side. This should be the AM5 socket. It does not say AM5 on it, but it does have this little cool little icon, which probably means AM5. I don't know how that means AM5, because honestly, I don't know what that means. But it just, wow, it's a really weird looking icon. But okay. Let's get the directions out just to be sure I'm clear. Get the English ones. English is on back, of course. Why would it be on the front? Okay, so it's kind of labeled AM4, AM5, so it's kind of the same installation. Wonderful. Remove plastic backplates, keep the black backplate installed. Okay, so we are using the backplate, but we're not going to use these. So we're going to take these off, these little screw things, and we're going to use those. And it says to use a very long screwdriver, which they do not provide. No, they do not provide. Gotta love this company. Okay. You know, Noctua has got a really good edge on these people. And the reason why is because they at least give you the stupid screwdriver to install it. I have one, so I'm not that upset, but it's just, you know, if you're doing this on your own, you're going to need a very long screwdriver. Or at least it looks like a very long screwdriver. We'll try it. Let's see what we got. All right, so we're going to remove those other plastic pieces of junk there. I'm going to take those out, the ones that came with the board. A little long. You can use a regular screwdriver. It's a regular Phillips. Nothing special. You do want to keep the motherboard on something flat because that back piece, the back plate, will come off if you don't have it on something flat. It will fall through the board. So you don't want that to happen. If that does happen, you can just push it back up, but it's just a big pain in the butt to get it back in place. So if you lift the board right now, these will sink back down and they'll come off the back of the board. If you're doing this inside a case, you'll want to tape that to the back of the motherboard temporarily so it doesn't move on you. Get it screwed in and then take the tape off, you know, if you're doing inside a case. I'm not doing this inside a case. It's a lot easier this way, so we're just going to do it this way. So just take all that stuff off. Now you're at this step here. We're at step 3 now. So we're going to put the little washers on and the little screws. Now, which one is it? It is labeled AM4, AM5. So it's these pink. I'm very bad with colors, so I'm going to go with the simplest thing of pink, but that is probably some fuchsia color or something. You know what I mean? Like it's probably something really advanced that I don't care about. So it's the pink one, not the blue one or the black one. Black one is for Intel, different socket, and this one's for Intel 1700. It is labeled 1500, 200. AM4, AM5 is what we want. Alrighty. Where's my knife? My knife got buried. Here's my knife. All right. So I'm just going to cut this apart carefully so that we keep all the rest of it intact, just in case they want to switch their CPU later. They could still use that cooler and fan. I'll put that off to the side for their little bag. We're going to open this up. Be careful with your fingers, of course. It's still a knife. Common sense when you go to use these things. All right, so we're going to do, not the AM4 socket. Where did the other one? One under here, didn't it? Yes, it did. Okay, so these go this way? No, doesn't go that way. It has to go this way. Oh, wow. The directions say AM4, AM5, but the directions are actually for an AM4 socket. So the AM5 socket, it doesn't go parallel to this. Like, it doesn't go this way because it's obviously way too long. So it has to go this way. Which way does it go for inside out? Does not say. All right, let's do a dry fit first and see how this goes. That does not reach. No. Okay. It does go this way, does it? No, cannot go that way. It must go this way. No, it doesn't reach. What the hell? The hell, man. Screws out. What? Am I losing my mind? It has to go upwards. No, does it not reach? It is short. Of course. All right, am I missing a bracket? I'm missing a bracket or something? These are all Intel. Yeah, these are Intel. It's definitely not those. It's definitely not AM4. Seriously? They have it mislabeled. You're effing kidding me. How do they mislabel? Okay. This is why directions suck. Am I going crazy? That says AM4. This is an AM5 socket, yet this is the one that fits this. Anyway, I'm beyond ticked. All right, so that goes there, and then this one goes this way. I think it goes inwards. Yeah, it goes inwards like that. Okay. This is for what company is this? Thermalright. You guys are morons. You labeled it wrong. How do you label metal wrong? This doesn't fit at all. This is not even close. So this must be AM4, which, by the way, is not labeled AM4. And this one's AM... No. Well. You built with that motherboard the other day. Nice. Be lazy. That's the B850E, right? This is the, yes. I think yes. I'm on it, right? B850-E Wi-Fi, yeah. Yeah. Did you ever build with this stupid cooler from Thermalright? Because honestly, this thing is a piece of junk. I don't know why this is labeled wrong. All right, anyways, guys, we're going to move on to putting in the proper things, hopefully the right way. Directions are horrible. AM4. I feel like I'm making a mistake here, even if I know that this is not going to fit anything. It doesn't fit this way. It don't fit that way. All right. Anyways, the curve goes inwards. Yeah, that is the it's the B850E, by the way. Yeah, you're right. It's a nice board. Very bad cooler though. All right, so let's get our little standoffs out. These little plastic doohickeys on there. They only go one way, so it should just go right on. Yep. Yeah, the Arctic Freezer all-in-one is nice. Yeah, it's a really nice cooler. This cooler's not bad. It's just the directions are horrible. You know what I mean? Like I don't think there's a problem with the cooler. I just feel like the directions obviously are missed. This is also being labeled as AM4, which it's not. It's an AM5. This is an AM5 socket. I'm not going crazy. You know, you can't make the mistake. It says AM5 right there. This one says AM4 though, but it's the only one that fits. This one does not fit, unless putting the things on make a difference. No, it just barely doesn't fit. It doesn't make any sense. So we're going to use the AM4 ones and just put this here, and then put this one here. By the way, the curve goes inwards towards the CPU, I think. Hopefully, if the directions are right. Yeah, the curvature goes in between the CPU. So we're going to go with that. Let's do that. Even if it says AM4, at worst it screws, we unscrew it. IKEA level instruction. Yeah, it's not been the first time. I think the translation, sometimes when people like translate these directions, they don't really think, hey, I'm going to really need that. You know, need to know what's going on with that. These screws are not lining up. Great. Great. This is not the right one. Wait a minute. Why do they? Oh, grabbed the wrong one. Sorry, that's my fault. With the longer ones, just slide the long one in there. Boom. I think I put better instructions on IKEA, honestly. I really have. I built a lot of IKEA furniture before, and it works fine. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 tries at it, but, you know, it works. Oops, a little bit tight. All right, I'll turn that down a little. There we go. All right, so just going to line this back up, putting the screws in. A screw. It says AM4. It's driving me nuts. My OCD says AM4 is not AM5, right? So this one. Tight. Just want to make sure they're tightly down, because this is going to make the difference between the thing seating correctly, the heatsink sitting correctly. So hopefully everything else will be correct as these directions are. All right, we're up to thermal paste. Let me get some gloves. I don't like the thermal paste that came with this. This is Thermalright's TF7. I'm going to use what I know works. So we're going to use some Noctua brand, because honestly, I know that works. I don't know how well this works. Honestly, after reading the directions and having things wrong, I don't really trust that. So let me grab some gloves really fast, and we'll put some thermal paste on there. We'll spread it around nicely, and then we'll move forward. Let me just grab some gloves. Do I have gloves here? That would be nice. Gloves, gloves, gloves. Gloves, gloves. Yes, I do. I've got gloves. All right, gloves. And I need a spreader. You guys, let me grab it. I'm on the other side of the room. Bear with me, guys. Hopefully you can hear me. Let me get the spreader. This spreader right here. And we need some thermal paste. Let's grab some thermal paste. Magic of thermal paste. Do we have some here? Yes. I have an open tube. Yes, I do. Nice. All right. Little word of advice: if you're doing this with without gloves, you can. Just if you get stuff on your fingers, though, it's a lot harder to clean off than wearing gloves. So if you got a pair of just disposable, vinyl gloves or whatever, you can just use those. Just so we are not making a mess out of your fingers. Because once you get this stuff on your fingers, it's hard to wash off. You're gonna need like a little bit of isopropyl alcohol to get it off your hands. And that's probably not too good to be putting on your hands. So there's probably some reason not to do that. Anyways, gloves. I'm gonna twist this off. We're using Noctua NTH1. I don't know if that's the newest one, but it's what we use. So we're just gonna put that on there. We're gonna put a little line. There's a lot of different ways you can spread paste. I do a line, and then I'm going to use a spatula to push that out. You could also just put it in the middle, and then just let the heat sink spread it out. But I got a little spreader, so we're just going to do a little spreading. It's a very thin amount, and get that covered here. It's going to take way too long. Just get all the way into the corners. You want to get everything covered. The middle is the more important portion. With AM5, just to give you guys a little insight here, the processor at the top portion is actually not as important. It's kind of like the middle towards the down portion of it, because that's really where all the chips are underneath this heatsink. IHS, I'm sorry, spreader, heat spreader. So you want to cover it as much as possible. Get it nicely even as you can. Try not to get too many chunks. It's really a thin layer of paste. Do not put like a shit ton of paste on here. You do not need that. It'll squeeze out everywhere and it'll just make a mess. The stuff I'm using is also not electrified. So in other words, like you won't have to worry about like, you know, it grounding anything or anything like that, or if it gets in anywhere, it's fine. You know, most of the thermal paste isn't an issue with that, but there are some metal ones that are different. There we go, nicely covered, nice and thin. Don't really need much. A little bit more up here, there's a little more painting. This is overkill, okay. All right, when you're done, just make sure you close your paste back up. This one I'm just gonna toss, that's crap. Okay. Moving on, I'm gonna put the heat sink on at this point. I have an AM4, I wonder how different they are. I guess maybe this is for an AM4, but you know, I don't think I have an AM4 motherboard sitting around right now. We might have picked up one from recycling or something, I'll have to double check. But I'm just curious also, like, why would they make this, you know, why would they make this here and not label it and label that one wrong? I don't know, but we're gonna find out later. I'm gonna check on this and then I'll get back to you guys and see what they say about this, because obviously that's wrong. Did you ever delid a processor? I didn't delid one myself. I worked on one that was delidded. It was a pain in the butt. It does make it, you get a little bit better performance out of a delidded processor. But if you don't know what you're doing, it's very difficult to delid the processor. I would recommend, you know, you either get a kit to do it. Like there's kits online from DeBauer, I think. Not DeBauer, what's his name? Thermal Grizzly has them. So I know Thermal Grizzly has options for delidding. You can buy one of their kits and you can get it delidded. Or you can buy them already pre-delidded. They'll delid it for you if you want. If you're a little unsure and you don't want to break anything, and they'll still warranty it for you. By delidding, most of the time you're going to void your warranty. So that's something you gotta just take in effect of that. I have worked on one before. I don't think it's that much of a big difference, in my opinion. Not for the chance of like destroying your processor. You know, you could just spend a few bucks more and just get a better processor, or wait for something better to come out. You know, that's up to you guys though. Like maybe some people might want to do that for, you know, if they're like doing something where they're looking to, you know, get in the top 5 or something, or you know what I mean, like for something like that. You know, like performance testing kind of thing. I don't see it for an everyday use for delidding a processor, because there's so much you got to worry about, you know, if you make a mistake or a problem. So, all right, we're ready to put the heatsink on. It's fun. So we're just gonna take it out of the plastic here. There's a lot of plastic. Sorry guys, the noise. I hate this plastic noise. Okay. So, okay. Before you put any type of heatsink on, they always put this stupid plastic piece on the bottom with a big warning to take that off. Now, even as an experienced person, I've done this and accidentally left this on. And let me tell you something, that's a really bad day for you. You're going to get a lot of overheating, because then basically the thermal paste isn't doing its job. It's not transferring the heat off. It's transferring into this piece of plastic, which is not going to do anything. So you're just going to get overheating. So be sure to take that off. It's a 3-second ordeal to deal with. If you're not sure, remember to do it as soon as possible. Now this is obviously going to touch the IHS. It's going to push it right straight down. You're going to line it up first before you start. And to do that, you're going to line up the tower with the screws that are on the board. I'm sorry, the screws that are on this bracket, which is on the board. If that makes sense, guys. All right, so hopefully my screwdriver is going to reach that. If not, I have a longer screwdriver somewhere. Let me see, before I put this down and find out the hard way, that is not going to reach. Wonderful. Let me get a longer bit. If I have a longer screwdriver bit, or if I have a longer screwdriver somewhere. I have one from a Noctua installation. I don't know where they went. They went somewhere that's not here. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me go grab a... Oh, that might be longer. This might be long enough. Ooh, just barely. All right, that will work. Okay. All right, we'll use this cheap screwdriver. Cheap Amazon, it'll work. That's a chunky... Yes. This is a very chunky heatsink. I'm also not liking how this is going to be installed. Let's see. This is going to go this way. You have a fan, I guess, on this side, and a fan in the middle. Yeah, this is a really big heatsink. Let me make sure it lines up correctly. That does line up. Yes, it does. What I'm doing is just looking underneath the board where I'm positioning this. And then we're going to get the screwdriver on there. To put this on, you just basically get it threaded on one side, then go to the other side and thread the other side first. Get it nicely down. It is a spring-loaded mechanism, so you're going to hear it bottom out eventually. Just go back and forth until you're all the way down. Just like furniture, kind of, actually. You wouldn't want to break it that way, so the bottom out eventually. Yeah, you're going to need a really long screwdriver to get down to this thing. I mean, the directions did say you did need a long screwdriver, so I just wish it came with it. Oh, you like the chunky? Yeah. Well, when you're doing air cooling, you definitely need a lot more... you definitely need a lot bigger heatsink for things to work right. I haven't ran with this one yet, but I usually do a lot of Noctua installations. I also do a lot of... what's the other one? That's a little cheaper. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But, you know, any more chunk that you have here, the better off you are anyway, because then you're going to have a lot more heat dispersion. It's going to disperse heat a lot more evenly over this. It's got a lot more surface area to go off of. So, just a long screwdriver. Like, look at the size of the screwdriver. That's like insane to have to get that down there. All right, it's done now. Gonna put the fans on. We got the fan clips somewhere, which I'm gonna have to go find. And let's get those fans on there before we put everything into the case. I do like one thing about this installation here, which I'm gonna be careful with at this point since it's kind of heavy. Oh yeah. The RAM clearance is pretty good. Like, they got a little cutout here, and that will allow for a little bit taller RAM between here and here. I mean, this RAM is pretty short because it just has like a regular heatsink on it. But if you had like fancy RAM with like LEDs and garbage, you have clearance for it, you know, between here and there. So put this back down. But yeah, let's get the fans on. And one. Thermal right, really? Is it so hard to write the airflow? Like Noctua writes the airflow. It's nice to, I mean, I could figure this out. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, usually this part is the part that blows outwards like this, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it doesn't. If you have to double check this with the airflow, just run it and see if you feel air on this side. If you feel air on this side, that means the air is pushing this way, going through it. Okay. So what you want to do is usually you're going to put your label on the inside like this, but then your second one that's going to go in place is a little confusing. So you might have to remember to put it the same way if you want to have the air going all the way out this way. Most of the time they will line up the same way. So in other words, your label is going to probably be on the inside and your label is going to be the inside of here, if that makes sense. And then your air is going to go whoosh, out the back. So let's do that. Let's get our second one out also. Oh, it says RGB, so it's going to be a lot of cables. Yeah, whatever, that's fine. All for some color. This is so good, I guess. All right. I'm not anti-color for system. It's just some more cables I really just don't want to deal with. Okay. I'm complaining for complaining. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to stop complaining now. All right, so these are the little holders or spring clips, you want to call them. You know, there's a lot of different names for this stupid thing. So what you want to do is you want to put this onto the fan, obviously, if you can get them apart. They're going to latch onto the fan, and then they're going to latch onto your heatsink to hold the fan in place. Now, I'm not a big fan, of these. These are kind of horrible. They do make ones that are like regular plastic pieces that kind of like latch onto the holes here a little bit better. But I'm being nitpicky about this. I don't think a lot of people are going to care until you go to clean the computer and then you have to put them back on. So it's a little bit of a pain to get these on. Once they're on though, get them through the holes. It's pretty much not that big of a deal. This is a little nicer one though. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. I do like the fact that they bent this piece back, because then it makes it latch into the fan and I don't have to worry about it coming off the fan. So when it goes into the hole, they won't have a way of coming back. So that is a little nicer. I usually have to end up bending those, so I'm kind of happy that they already bent them, so you don't have to do them. And I'm just putting them into the holes on the fan. Snap it in place. Snap it in place. And I usually do the ones that are closer here so that a little more pressure onto the heatsink. Now, here comes the little bit of a problem. If you notice the cables coming out this side, I don't like that. So I'm going to flip this over the other way. I'm going to have the wires come out that side so it's a little easier to get to the fan connectors that are up here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. It's a little blurry, sorry, because this damn heatsink is so high up. But you're going to have the fan connectors here. So fan connectors on this side actually. So they'll plug in hit directly here. So that's why I'm going to put the wires that way. So at least this way it kind of reaches the right spot. I'm hoping I got this into the right hole. Or does this go into the other hole? All right, we'll find out. Let's try. I should probably have read the directions. Yeah, it goes on the other, God damn it, it goes in the other hole. All right. Not a big deal, just pop it back out. Bear with me, guys. It's supposed to go on the other hole. It's supposed to be a little bit further from it. That's fine. Yeah, it's just a little bit annoying. Sorry, guys. That should be it. That should work. Yeah, that should work. Okay. So it's not the first hole; it's the second hole that's further from. It's further from the heatsink. Okay, yeah, that's a little better. And let's get that over. This cable is getting in the way. There we go. All right, a lot of jittering. Sorry, guys. I usually am better about this. This is a little tight. Now that's a little tight. What the crap? Oh, that's the right one. All right. It's a little tight, but that's okay. Better be tighter than looser on this type of situation. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. Okay. This is going to latch on that side. There we go. Yeah, it's a little tight, but that's actually good. You want it kind of tight onto the area here so the fan doesn't go anywhere. Now what I'm doing is there is room to bring this fan up. I don't want to do that. You want to cover more of the surface area of the heatsink itself. This is a little higher on this side, I just realized. I'm going to bring that down a little. That down just a little. There we go. And that's more level. There we go. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to do is get as much airflow over the heatsink as much as possible. There is room to move this up because it's kind of like right on the RAM, but honestly I want to go as far down as I possibly can go so that we're covering more of the heatsink. More of the heatsink, obviously more of the airflow to go through, more of it's going to cool, you're going to have a much better performance out of it. So just try to make sure that you're covering the whole thing. And again, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put this logo on this side, and you're going to put the boring sticker in the middle onto this side, onto the left side of this side over here. So let's get these little clips on, and we'll follow the same procedure as the last one. Oh, I hate these things. Wires are in the way. All right. Tomorrow we're going to have another live stream too. Tomorrow is a water cooling stream, so it's an AIO. It's not a custom one. It's just a regular AIO one. So we will have that tomorrow if you're interested in the AIO. I don't remember which AIO it is. You guys have to look it up on YouTube, I think. I don't remember. I think it's a MAG, I think. MSI MAG, which is a different one than I'm usually used to. But it might be fun. Who knows? These cables I want going down this way. All right, so we're just going to place this in place in between the middle here without breaking too much. That sound is horrible. Okay. All right, and then latched on here. Okay, and then this side. Really? Okay. And this down a little bit. There we go. It's not that hard to latch these on. It's just when you got to clean them, it's a pain because you got to undo the latches, and then you got to carefully kind of take it out, and then blow everything off and then put it back. So it's a little bit more extra work, a little bit of cleaning, but it's not that big of a deal. Either that, or you could also just blow them out. Like if you have the machine off anyway, you could just hold the fan and blow it out straight out too. You don't have to take these off. But I like to take them off to inspect the fan to be sure that the fan is working well. You know, and just make sure it's not having any issues. Now it comes with a nice little splitter. It is a 4-prong splitter. I don't think we need it. We have, yes, we have CPU optional and CPU. So we're just gonna plug it straight into the board. We'll give it extras, you know. It'll just go straight to the unit. This is the RGB, isn't it? Yeah. Ugh. Okay. All right, the RGB we're going to put off to the side for now. I got to connect those. I think it has an it has an RGB connection on the motherboard, so we will plug those in. I don't know if I'm going to load the software because I think the software kind of takes away from things. If the software is light, we'll put it. If it's not light, we're going to just probably install it, try it, see if it works good. If it doesn't, then we're just going to take it out because I'd rather have the system running better than to be running crappy because of some stupid lighting. Let's plug the fans directly in. Fan 1 into fan 1, and then fan 2 is over here. These are 4-pin connectors. They just go straight in. They're not really anything fancy. They only really go one way. If you're plugging it in the wrong way, it will give you resistance, so that's not good. All right. It's pretty good. It's not too horrible. This one's all the way out here. I'm gonna have to start wire managing already. Oh, this is already a mess. Do I like this? I don't know if I like this. I hate the wire coming out over here. This is bothering me. Okay, so this is just me being me. We don't really need to go and do all this. If you're already got it plugged in, it's probably fine. I'm gonna rotate this one. So I'm gonna take this off. Come on. I'll take this off. I'm gonna rotate it this way, and we're gonna put the clips the other direction. So all the wires come out the bottom. This is not really necessary. Honestly, the wires coming out either direction would have been fine. I personally want to just change this because it is a viewable case on the inside, and I want to try to make it look kind of nice. So let's just try to make it right and go the right direction, which is this way. I know this is a lot of stupidness for changing one little thing around, but it's going to bother me later knowing that that's plugged in the wrong way and it's going to look wrong. So let's just put this up right here. That's fine. So now all the cables kind of come out the bottom, so they're a little further away from the window. And we'll just place this back on top. Same way it was before. There we go. And let me get this side. There we go. All right, that's better. Nice. All right, so basically on this side, I'll lift this up a little bit so you guys can see. Now all the cables are coming out the bottom, so we can kind of hide those a little better. And just tuck these little bad boys in there, and just there we go, and I'll just tie that down. So I'm going to tie that down a little bit. I don't like how that's just all over the place. I think this one came with ties. Oh, these are our own ties. That's fine. Probably the ties are with the case or the power supply. All right, we're just going to tie this up. Give it a little loopity-loop, a boopity-bop, a boopity-bop, get in there. There we go. Okay, so it's inside, so it doesn't display so much. Oh, I didn't do the damn RGB. Okay, so there's RGB. You got these are daisy chained, so you just take off the little connector. Oh, God, these things are a pain. Come on. If you can get them off. You know what? Wait a minute. They have two plugs. All right, I'm doing this for no reason. All right, they have two plugs on the board, so I'm just going to put this on the board then. And then they'll be individually addressable if they want to address them separately instead of together. And that will allow them to do whatever they want with it. It's a little more flexibility. Not that anybody probably, they all probably set it the same way. You know, one color, static. It's usually what they end up doing after a while. All right, so let me tie all this stuff up because there's a lot of junk up in the corner. So let's get this down. I don't know if you guys can even see this because it's like way down here. I'm sorry. We really need like a side camera. Yeah. All right, this goes this way. That goes this way, and then we're gonna just tie all that stuff up. We don't need this stuff. There's no way to make this nice. It's kind of ugly, no matter what. All right, I'm gonna tie it up anyway. Whatever. I'm gonna tie it up. We'll go with the best of what we can do. There's a lot of wires, unfortunately. I'm gonna try to ravel them backwards so they are kind of hovering over the ports and not the screw holes. These stupid daisy chain things are like sticking out now. I don't know if you can cut those off. I'm not going to cut them off. Let's just leave it. I don't want to break anything. But, yeah, that's stupid. the way this is. This is horrible. All right. Let's see what tie on that. I'm not very happy with this cable management. I might just redo this later and find a way to put the wire behind the board or something. Let me get it into the case. Since this is kind of like sticking out. Not happy about sticking out. That's not a good idea. There we go. All right. For now, I have a little bit of room here. I could just, no. All right, let's do something different. Let's cut that. Oh, yeah, cut that. Let's put this underneath. If I can ravel. It's been 50 minutes on wire management. Okay, it needs to be done, Brian. It needs to be done. So let's do it right. These cables are way long. This motherboard is well thought out. I don't think the people with the cables are well thought out. They were probably like, oh, you know, everybody's motherboard's got a cable that's way too short. Now this is way too long. Very weird, but let's tie this way. Separate. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna pop that in to here. Get in there. And you will be hidden. Hidden from who? I don't know. But hidden from what? View, that is. Okay, this one, same thing. This one's even worse. There's a lot of wire. All right, this way. We'll tie this up now, because once I get in the case, it's going to be a lot harder to maneuver this. It's going to be really difficult to even get in there, because it's going to be on the top part of the case, which is probably not going to be viewed anyway, but I like to make sure it looks good at least somewhat. Let me cut this out. Let's do that. Voila. All right. I'll just pump this into here. The other way is put it into there. Come on. There we go. Okay. And then we'll tuck this back over here. There's like no way. All right, well, that was a failure. Let's try to get this wire in here. There we go. Oh my God, too many wires. Okay, that looks horrible. I will fix that up a little bit later. I'm not very happy with it, but I'll make it work. Okay. Try to grab the board without breaking anything. All right. We're ready for the case at this point. And I'm going to try to see if I could squish this in a little more at the top when I go to put it into the case. Probably push it a little more underneath there or on this side. Yeah, let's get the case in. Case is way over there. Oh, yeah. All right, this case is going to be kind of like really large. So I'm going to hopefully be able to put it downwards. And hopefully you'll be able to see something of what I'm doing here. Get those out of there. I'm going to fix that later. I'm going to figure out why. I'm going to contact the manufacturer on that. Like, that doesn't make any sense on why it's labeled AM4 and it's not AM4. I'm going to check the other brackets first before I do that to see if an AM4 board, if that fits on an AM4 and it doesn't belong that way, then they just mislabeled it. It is touching the board. I just want to make sure that I'm just double checking underneath to double check to make sure here is touching and it is solid, which it looks like it. It's hard to see from here. Not sure if you guys can see this, but the board it is touching the heatsink, so it should be fine. The IHS is touching the heatsink, so we should be okay. But that's what you want to double check, just in case the parts are mislabeled. You want to make sure it's touching all the way down before you plug something in and find out the temperature runs away. All right, case. Let me put this board off to the side for a minute. Get this out of the way. Let me put this over here. Let me get the case up here. Clean this off. Nice. All right. The manual that comes with it. give it to the customer for them, just in case they want to read through it. Okay. All right, this case is mostly glass. It is pretty large. We're going to take the glass off, obviously, to build everything, and hopefully nothing will fall apart on us. So it is tempered glass, so we got to be a little bit careful on what we do with it. There's only one screw for this? Is it? Alrighty. Oh, that is not one screw. Oh, it's the top. Okay, all right. Gonna do that. All right, I'm gonna have to put it upright. If I put it upright, you're gonna not be able to see too much. I apologize. Give me a few minutes just to get the covers off, and we'll go from there. If I can get this off without losing my patience. Oh. Top piece comes off first. It's a snap-in. Put that off to the side so it doesn't get damaged. I'm going to take the glass off. The glass is popped in place. There's 2 pieces of glass on this thing, so I'm going to put that off to the side very carefully because it is tempered glass. And if you hit tempered glass on an angle, or in other words, like on one of the sides, you can actually shatter it. So it is something to be very careful about. Same thing, the other side's all metal. So I'm just taking that side off, and I'm taking the front glass off at the front of the unit. Same thing, just lift up or pop out. No, it's pop out, pop out. And just again, be very careful with the glass. And the only reason why I know so well is because I have destroyed one in the past accidentally. And it was a pain in the ass to get another one. And it was a pain in the ass to get it shipped, and it was a whole problem. And I don't really want to have problems. It's just be very careful. All right, now that we got the glass out of the way, we can be a little more of a little bit more rough with this stuff. Okay, so let's go over the case really quick. First of all, it comes with this nice little package of screws, some wire ties, all the little standoff things, little plastic pieces. This is nice, you know, to have a little case like this, just so the customer has something, you know, if they have extra screws, they can hold on to those. This is a dual chamber installation. So in other words, motherboard's up here, power supply is down here. So it separates hot and another hot device to pull in air from multiple spots. We're going to install the power supply the right way, which is downwards, so that it's pulling air from the bottom part of the case. This case does have nice feet, so it makes it perfectly fine. I still wouldn't put it on carpet. There's no reason to put any of these machines on carpet. You really shouldn't. If you have a carpeted situation, put a piece of wood down and then put this on top of the piece of wood, or metal, or put it on top of a desk, even better off. But if you're putting it on the floor and it's carpeted floor, be sure that you're clearing the bottom of the case, because if you're not, it's going to suffocate the power supply, and then you're going to have overheating issues, and that's never good. So for intake, there's 3 spots. You can put a fan here, here, or down here. We are not putting any in for right now. I'm going to do some temperature testing to see if that's okay. If it's not, then I'm going to recommend that the customer purchase a fan, and we put a fan in, you know, maybe 1 or 2, just in case, if it's not pulling enough air. I think it will probably be fine, but you know, you don't know until it's closed up and finalized. Because this is glass over here, and then there's a glass piece that goes over here on the top. This, well, top, but it's side panel, you know. So you'll have glass here and glass here. You're not going to really have much airflow pulling in from the front of the case. You'll be pulling mostly from the side of the case. So it might need a little extra airflow for that to work, if that makes sense. All right, let's get the motherboard in, and I don't think we have any case. No, we don't have any case fans here at all. So we're gonna put the motherboard in. We're gonna put the power supply in, which is down below this piece. That's below here. This is a really big case. You got a lot of room in this case. It's also very much a lot of glass, so it's nice to show off, like, you know, your hardware. Me personally, I think this is a great case to build in. It looks very large. Like you have a lot of open space here. Like even this being open is really nice here because I can put the graphic card in without too much problems. You have an extra little bit of room here to go almost all the way out too, since the fans are on this side. So the only fan that would interrupt with is this middle fan. So if you're going to do water cooling in this case, you may have some problems with the longer graphic cards in this one area, unless you decide to put the water cooling up here. I would probably recommend up here anyway, just so it's out of your way and the tubes can go nicely up that direction instead of pulling air this way. I would use this just for air intake and then use this back one for obviously air exhaust. But that's my recommendation. You don't have to do it. You could also do forced air all the way in. You know, you could do, you know, positive pressure if you really wanted to. I find that it works, but it's also very noisy. So if you want a little bit less noisy case, you'll want to do regular standard flow pressure. Like you don't want to have too many crazy stuff or negative airflow. Screws. Of course, they give you a little thank you card. Yay. I'll put that off to the side. I don't need this. All right. What we do need is to find out what this comes with. I think this is the GPU anti-sag bracket. Yeah, it's metal. I don't know if we're going to need this. I think we'll be fine without it. We'll see how it goes. If we need it, then I'll put it in. Maybe we should just put it in anyway, just so it's there. No, it's going to get in the way of things. Let's not do that, unless we need it. All right, let's make sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double check the screw holes right now to see where we need to put screw holes. We need one. We need one here. We do need one here and here. And we need 3 down there, which they already are. It's like they already knew this fits in this case. Wow, okay. And 3 on top? Is that it? 3 on, oh my God, I can't see the top. Yeah, 3 on top, okay. I don't have to change anything. So that's nice. You don't need one here. This is out already and it's not needed for this board. Nor here, nor here. So it's a very long board, so you're going to get here, 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 there, there, there. It's the default that's installed, which is nice. Let me see what type of screw this is for the motherboard, unless it's labeled, which nothing is labeled, but it is separated. Oh, these are fan stuff, okay. All right, they give you longer screws for like water. They expect you to do water cooling, I guess, because they give you a lot of extra screws here. So we're going to open up the screws for the motherboard. We're going to put it back into this case because I know I'm going to drop it. Let me take the screw. Let me take out these. I can use that. We can use some ties. We use black ties. It's fine. All right. Just a little separator. Oh, who cares? Okay, we don't need this separator. I should just melted this out of here. There we go. I just need that. Okay, so open up this, put this in here. I'm gonna lose those. Those are the ones for the motherboard. How do I know they're the ones for the motherboard? Because they have the ones with the standoff in there. It's gonna be these little small screws, small thread. Let me try to grab one and show you guys. It should be these. So it's that very thin mechanical screw, if you want to go that route. It's very small. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we need 9 total. Should have 9 in here. 9. You know what, I'll just grab them one at a time. All right, let's just put the board in. And since there's no, I can't forget the I/O shield this time because this board already has the I/O shield built into it. So that's a nice plus. I won't have to worry about that. Just make sure you take the plastic off your I/O shield before you put it in place. I've already done that. It was from step like 1 or 2. You're gonna take the board, gonna be very careful. This is very heavy. So you wanna hold the heavy part as much as you possibly can without bending the board. And you wanna slide it up push it in place, get the holes lined up, wherever they are. There we are. They are lined. Make sure you can see the standoffs on all of them. You also should take a count of how many screws you need. Make sure you've screwed in the same amount of screws. If you haven't, in this case it's 9, but if you haven't, then take the board back out because you probably have a standoff in the wrong spot. And therefore, you may be shorting your board out if you go to turn it on. So do not turn on until you've made sure that you've got the right amount of screws everywhere. And make sure you have everything in the proper spot. Just gonna grab a few more screws out of here. This is really hard to grab out of, actually. I have 2 big fingers for this. This is made for smaller fingers. All right. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna screw in all the screws. That's 1 already. This is 2. 2. 3. 3. 4. 4. Okay. I know this is like riveting content when you're putting in screws, but it's one of the most important parts besides putting in other stuff. 4, 5. Oh man. A magnetic tip would have helped, but you know, that would just be too easy. Go. Okay, 6. I just got the top ones. 8, 9. Okay, and we're just going to go up all the way up to the top. Those are going to be a little harder to get at. I'm going to have to move this around a little to get in there. That's it. You can also use a regular screwdriver, guys. You don't need to use like an electric one. I'm just very lazy and I don't want to, oh, shoot, I dropped it. And I don't want to have to like worry about getting and turning things, so get in there. Come on. Here we go. This does have a magnetic tip. Why didn't it stay? No. Okay. Let's get the last one over here first. And get the other one. This one is hard to reach, so I'm going to have to turn and hopefully straight in. There you go. Okay, motherboard's in. Just give it a little push up just to be sure it's not moving. You want to double check the I/O shield in the back, which it is perfect. There's nothing wrong because it's a built-in one, so nothing to really look at. But just make sure that you can see all your I/O. If you haven't, then you might have mounted your motherboard wrong. That's rare, but again, we're back to this thing of just in case, you know. Let's get the power supply in. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge. We're going to move this around a little here, and I'm going to see if I could try to get this on camera. This is the back. This is the back, and it's the bottom. I'm going to reverse it for now because the top part is more important. This is where the power supply is going to go. This is where the fan's going to be placed against because this is the bottom part of the case. If that makes sense to you guys. I know I'm rotating this a lot, so this does not fit on the table this way, so I'm going to push the table a little bit more over a little more. There we go. Wow, this is really not that great. There we go. That's better. All right, so let's get the power supply. Power supply we went with is a Corsair RM750E. This is a little nicer power supply. This has ATX 3.1 on it, which will allow you to use an NVIDIA graphic card if you wanted to. the newer graphic card, the newer power plug, if you want to use that. This is an AMD build, so it doesn't have an NVIDIA graphic card. But if the customer wants to change it later, they don't need to change their power supply. They already have it. It's just going to go. So if they say to themselves, oh, I don't like AMD or whatever, they can easily switch out to an NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a little more expensive right now. Actually, let me rephrase that. Almost every graphic card is a little expensive right now. So, but at least it'll allow them for a little bit of future upgradability. Comes with a safety guide. I think we know how to use a power supply. Power supply itself, a lot of cords. I think this is modular. Yeah, it's modular. Okay. Nothing wrong with modular. It's actually better, in my opinion. Comes with something else. I don't know what that is. We're gonna find out in a minute. Comes with some candy. I mean, silicone. Don't eat this. Just silicone and power supply screws, probably. All the lovely cables. Those are really nice. They actually feel really nice. They're not threaded. It's a very thick cable though. Power cord, of course. When you're going to play games and stuff, make sure, like if you're upgrading from one computer to another, change the power cord. This power cord is obviously a lot thicker. It will handle 750 watts. A lot of other power cords may not if you have an older computer. And if you're changing it, be sure to change the power cord at the same time. Don't skimp out on that. You don't want to fire because you just accidentally overloaded the cord. So, power supply itself. Box, which we can get rid of. Okay. All right, so let's look at the cables. These cables are really nice. They feel nice. They're not threaded though. They're like a plastic sheeting or something. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but that's really nice. Whatever it is, it feels nice. It doesn't feel like regular cabling. It also doesn't feel like sleeve cables, where like the sleeve cables are a little, they get caught on everything and get really dusty. This is probably more of a plasticky feel, but they're really a nice plasticky feel. Maybe it's like nylon or something. I don't know. It's really nice though. All right, so I'm going to untie all of this stuff. I always take these metal ones off. Do not leave that in the case. Use plastic ties for inside the case, especially because, you know, just in case one of these like fall off, you don't want that falling off in the case and then shorting something. So I haven't seen it happen, but that's because we also remove them all the time. So just in case, just get rid of it. You know, there's no need for using these. You know, cable ties are cheap. Use the plastic ones, it's fine, you know. All right, so lots of cables. We got PCI Express, some SATA connections. They're labeled, by the way, PCI Express, PCIe. Be sure not to get this confused with your motherboard. Your motherboard should say CPU on it. They are kind of close to the same pinout, and they could be forced the wrong way. Lots of PCI Express. What we're also going to do, since this is modular, what I like to do is I like to leave all of these cables in the bottom. And I'm going to tie it to something in the bottom. They may not be plugged in, they're just going to be there. And the reason why I do that is because if I trust the customer to actually hold on to cables, they will lose them. So, and then it makes it really hard to get these cables back because I have to contact Corsair and we have to make sure that they're exactly matched and pinned for this type of power supply. It's a nightmare, and it's a big chance that you may end up with the wrong pinnage, and then you're going to end up blowing something up in your computer. So we don't recommend that. I recommend you just keep all the cables. This is your 24, 26 pin, whatever it is, for the motherboard. And that, it has a nice little, what do they call that? Cable training kind of thing. Plastic cable train. So that'll be nice when we go put it in. It'll look nice. It really feels nice. These are really premium cables. Anyway, I'm getting too far into this. Okay, so also the other one, this is the new connector. That's your 5.0 connector. 5.1? That was it called. 3.1? I'm sorry, 3.1. ATX 3.1 connector, which this is for NVIDIA graphic cards only. I don't know why it only has 2 sense pins. That's weird, but that's, you know, that's NVIDIA for you, so who knows. Probably just the same amount of power. Anyways, they're at least nice. The Corsair ones are a little nice because they're 2-color. So you can tell if you plug this in all the way and not gonna destroy your computer. We're gonna keep this off to the side. We're not doing NVIDIA today, so it's just there. It's just there for the customer. It's ready to go. I'm gonna put those at the bottom of the case. PCI Express is the one we're gonna need. It also comes with the Molex connectors also, like these 4-pin Molex connector. If you have some older stuff, it's there. We're not going to use really anything except for PCI Express. This one says PCIe. I need that, and I'm going to double check the graphic card if we need 2. I think we need 2. God damn, they have a lot of cables going on here. This is weird. Oh. Okay, and then they got this connector, the new connector, going to PCIe's. I'm not going to use that. I really hate that new connector. It just had so many problems, and I mean, luckily no problems with us, but we don't really do a lot of like game builds, so you know, it's not an issue. But I've heard issues with it, so we're going to avoid it if we don't have to use it. One for CPU, obviously we're going to use. Wow, this is not really. There we go, CPU. And CPU, the same thing for CPU. And connect those. PCI Express, the regular one, I'm going to connect. And we don't need SATA. I'm just going to leave that off to the side again. Whatever we don't have to plug in, we don't have to plug in. I'm going to leave it unplugged. Power supply itself is actually pretty small for a 750 watt. It's a pretty small one. It's like regular size, but it's a little bit smaller. Some sort of warning. It says silent operation, low to moderate loads. The fan will not spin. Okay, so it's just warning you that the fan won't spin sometimes. It's kind of important, I guess. Bottom. That's the bottom. That's the fan that's going to go towards the bottom of the case. So let's get everything plugged in. I don't know what this is. I'm going to find out what this is. Oh, they're just cable tie. Why do they put this in paper? Just a bunch of cable ties. All right, whatever. I could use them, so I'll put it off to the side. PSU, that's probably the screws. And we got screws. Just regular black screws. Regular standard size. For them, it's going to go into the back part of the power supply, which is the back part of the case. Before we put this in, I'm going to plug in what we need because honestly, I don't want to have to reach in there twice. I'm just being a little more efficient than I normally am. I'm going to put the screws down for a second over here. And let me plug in what we need. So we got PCI Express. They're labeled. All right, so the CPU and PCI Express use the same power, so you just plug those into there. Plug one in. The end that you want to plug in is obviously the side that doesn't have any splits on it. That is the one that goes into the power supply. The other side may have a split. This one doesn't happen to have a split because it says CPU. But the one that says no CPU, it just says type A, I think, or something. Type 4. That goes into the side that says CPU. That's what I'm doing. All right, so let's put that in. PCI Express one, we're gonna need one more. This is CPU. How many CPU connections do we need? I don't think we need this many. You know what, before I go too far, I'm going to double check the graphic card really quick and see what we need for that. We need to open the box. That's what we need to do. All right. So, by the way, the graphic card is a AMD Radeon 9060 XT, RX 9060 XT. So, if you're wondering which one we're doing, it's Gigabyte. Quick installation guide. Like that. And the card itself. Oh, it's a big boy. This is a triple fan setup. This is also why we went with this case, so we have a little more room. We have a little more room in here just to be able to get the fans and everything. Should go right across with no problem. Certified sticker, whatever. There you go. Got it. Okay. Start there, got it here. Get out of here. All right. What I want to check is the power connector. We only need one 8-pin, so we're good. I was going to see if we had to do 2, we're fine, so I'm just going to do one 8-pin, which should be the one labeled PCI Express. Of course, I'm going to pick the one that says CPU. Yeah. So it's one of these. It says PCI Express. It's going to have this connector on it, which I'm going to try to push up. There we go. And that's going to make 6 to 8. And that's if I can be smart enough to link this together. Come on, there we go. So it'll be 8 like that. Might have to hold that together because this is going to come loose, but it's fine. All right, we also need the motherboard connector, which is over here, which I left over here somewhere. Motherboard 26 pin, that's going to go directly onto the one that says motherboard. It's the only one that says motherboard. Oh, by the way, these only click in one way. They have like a little clip on them. The clip goes directly in. This is pretty simple. You should hear it click in. Same thing for this one. So what do we have plugged in? PCI Express, CPU, motherboard. That's it. Now, if you're going to do the NVIDIA card, they have one that's right there for the 12 volts 2x6. That's going to be there, and you make sure your sense pin is going that direction and your plug is going the other way. It should be all the way pushed in. You want to make sure that they're always pushed all the way in. If you do cable management at the end, after your testing, go back and check to make sure that your plugs didn't come loose. You don't want half inserted plugs. That's a really bad scenario. You'll end up with a ground or a short, and then all of a sudden you're going to have a little mini plastic melting wire experiment that you really didn't want. So just be sure to avoid that. All right. Fan's going to go down to the bottom. Cables are going to go out towards the front of the case. So we're going to slide this in place. Oh boy. Get it down, get it rested. I'll let it go for a second so I can get the screws ready. And you're going to push it to the back part of the case, flush, and you're going to put the 4 screws in. They should only go one way. If you can't find all 4 screw holes, then you probably put it the wrong direction. Or you're blind, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It should be fine. You should be okay. It should be 4. Put this first one in. There we go. All 4 are in. I'm going to route the wires the way we're going to route the wires. So PCI Express we're not going to do first. We're going to get the ones that are for the motherboard first because they're the hardest to reach. So I want to make sure that we got the right amount of cable length. So the ones that say CPU, that one is going to go up here in the upper corner. Can't see it off camera, sorry. I don't know if you can see that. No. It's all the way at the top part of the motherboard. So it only goes in one spot up there. And then we've got power for this, which is going to go probably from the bottom of the board. I have to double check and see how this goes because it can't go straight over. We're also gonna tame this wire down a little bit, down into its little Velcro strappy. Ugh, I hate Velcro straps, I really do. Too much work. All right. Too much work, little payoff. Okay. So let's get that in there. Kind of that way. We're gonna tie this down properly. I don't like Velcro straps because they don't get tight enough for the cables for me. I like the cables to be nice and taut, so we don't have to worry about it. A little bit loose, but not to the point where they're all over the place. Take this out. Come on. There we go. These are your front panel connectors, which I'm trying to get off. Show here. Come on. All right. So front panel connectors, you're going to have HD audio if you actually use that, USB 3. Whatever, 2 I think it is, and a USB-C connector, as well as an old type front panel connector. All right, that's kind of nice. They put the front panel connector all as one piece, so it's easy to plug in. Most of the other cases I have them separate, and they're a pain in the ass. But this is nice and easy. So let's get this off. Get that gone. All right. Now we're going to pull all of this back through into the holes that are up here. It's just that element. Down through these holes. There's some holes here that are down at the bottom of the board. We're going to separate them out. I'm going to bring this up to me a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. But basically you're going to put it into the holes that are closest to whatever plug is on the opposite side, if that makes sense. So all of this is on the opposite side. So you're going to need to like route them to the closest hole. You want to route it to something that's the closest hole. You don't want to route it to something that's too far away. Why is there a light? There's a light on this case? All right, there's a light somewhere. I will find that in a few minutes. There's another connector for lights. So there's that. More RGB. All right, I'll figure that out. But let's get the cables run, and then we'll figure out where that RGB goes to, and I'll get that connected to the board as well. So let's bring this up. A little bit. I don't want to hit the camera. I'm going to hit the camera. Not good. Okay, let's put that that way. Let me just look at the case really quickly for a quick second to see where I'm going to put these wires. Yeah, just go into the closest holes. Why is there a light? Oh, the Lian the front lights up. Okay, so that makes sense. That's where that stupid RGB thing is. All right, I'm gonna put all these cable ties over here. We're gonna reorganize a little bit. So I'm gonna take all these wires, bring them up and through. I'm gonna show from the back because that kind of makes more sense. But you're gonna see where it goes, where they're supposed to go. So this is HD audio. Audio is all the way to the right, my left. My left, probably camera right. Might be camera right. I don't know if it's reversed. I'm just going to plug straight into the motherboard. I'm just going to pop them through, plug them in, and then pull the extra excess wire back to the other side so we don't have so much on this side. USB 3.2 whatever is over here. These only fit one way, so just be very careful. Plug them in only one way. They should clip in. If you're pushing too hard, then don't do that. You obviously have it the wrong way, so reverse it. It should just click right in place. You got this one here. Yeah. Out the way that way. Okay, so then this is USB 3.2 also, but it's USB Type C. That also gets plugged into the motherboard. If you guys don't know where those connectors are, when I went over the motherboard in the first part of the video, well, live stream, I did show you guys all the connectors. So it's the same spot. You can always rewind back to that if you want, if you're interested in seeing that. This is the front panel, so that's going to come up from the bottom, and that's just going to go straight over here. And it only goes one way because it's nicely keyed out for you. So the only thing you have to do is just push it on. Normally you have to put in like the lights the right direction and stuff like that. It's a real pain, but in this case, it made my life really, really easily. Now there's also stupid lights. I'm going to call lights stupid. I'm sorry, it's just because I hate running more wires than I have to. But this, you know, it's kind of important. So also, let's get the CPU first. I'm going to go up to the top, get the CPU connected really quickly. It's going to be an 8-pin plug. I think it's just 8-pin. There is another 4-pin next to it. I'm not sure if we need that. So I'm going to double check the manual for that and see if we need that other 4-pin connected. Pull the wire back through a little bit. And we're going to get the 26-pin also. This bad thing, big one here. Okay, this one goes up this way. And then, no, that's horrible. I'm going to rotate that. Yeah, rotate this way. So it goes up, over, and through the woods we go. Click it in. By the way, these should just click straight in. There shouldn't be really too much. We're going to cable train those later. Right now, I just want to get everything connected first, make sure everything works. Then we're going to probably pull the cables back out, retrain them a little bit better, and then tie them down a little bit nicer. I like to do that just to make sure everything works first, because you don't want to go through all that hassle and then find out it's just got a problem with something. So I'm going to probably have to daisy chain one of these lights. Oh no, wait a minute. There's a light connector down at the bottom. All right, we can do that. So let's see where that wire is, this stupid thing. There it is. All right, so this is gonna go, yeah, straight up from the bottom to that connector, which is right at the bottom of the board. So we can get lights to everything. Even if I really, really, really hate lights to everything, but we're going to do it because it's there and I can push it in. Let me just make sure I got it right. Light, I need a little bit of light. A little bit of light to what I'm doing here. 3 and 2, 3. There we go. Come on, get on there. All right. No, that's not going on. Are these pinned out the same way? Yeah, they're pinned out the same way. Add Gen 2. Weird. All right. Maybe that's not lights. It should be lights. 5 volts. You know, that one's labeled differently and it doesn't really fit the pins. Well, maybe it does. And I'm just, no, it doesn't. Okay, so it's something else. Okay, so that is not for that. All right, it has to go to the top. Ow, it has to go to the top. So that is not going there. Oh man, that is not gonna reach. They make all these cables very long, except for the one that needs to be long. Okay, well, you know, that's what happens. We'll leave the light off for now. We'll move on. I'll have to get an extender cable for that and get that to work. Not happy about it, but it's fine. All right, let's put the PCI Express. Shoot, let me get that cable. This is going to go over here because that's where the PCI Express is going to go. So. Right over that way. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to put this finally back down so you guys can see what the hell I'm doing, which makes more sense. All right, here we go. Not get on the graphic card. Okay. Do that for a sec. All right. So we got a cable coming out this way, which is the PCI Express one. So that's going to go right onto this board here, which is going to be, the board's going to go here for the graphic card. Let me get that in place. So we're going to take off at least 2 covers. Screws up there so I don't lose them. Pop these out. You're going to take the plastic off. I think this is plastic. Why do they do this? I think they love to just drive me nuts with plastic. I don't want to scratch this, but gaming starts here. Yeah, after you get the label off. All right, it's kind of done. All right, take that off, and then there's a piece of smaller plastic on here. Oh, come on. All right, there we go. All right, and that off of there. Why does that slide? Oh, great. Oh, I guess that's a cover. Or is that a button? No, that's just to show the light, not to show the light. If you wanted to kick it. All right, whatever. Another thing that could just break. Okay, you got also another piece down at the bottom here. Obviously, you want to take this off before putting it in. It is a two-slot design. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these little things out because they're a pain to get out later. We'll put them back on the ones that the customer doesn't use so you don't get dust on them. But it's got 2 display ports, 1 HDMI. And we're going to basically lay this right into the card socket and hopefully not break anything. So just get it prepared, get it lined up. And once you're lined up, I'm going to give it a little push. It should click in place as you just heard. And now you got to put the 2 screws back over here so it holds up the card properly. Gives it proper tension. Now, this graphic card's not that heavy. If you have a heavy graphic card, they make an anti-sag bracket. This, I think, comes with an anti-sag bracket. It's not needed, but there is a piece that can go up from down here up to here and hold your graphic card up in place. This graphic card is not that bad. It is not needed. I try to leave that stuff off unless there's an absolute need for it. If this card was really heavy or very chunky, like if it was like a 3-socket card, I'd be more concerned. This is only a 2-socket card, so it should be probably fine. When you go to 3 sockets, then you're counterlevering the weight to the opposite side, and that's bad because that's going to make the card do its little sagging thing, which is also called a sagging graphic card or whatever, and that's why they have an anti-sag bracket, which just basically pushes up on the side of the card. That's all it's really doing. This card's not that big of a deal, but if you do have a larger graphic card, you may want to get an anti-sag bracket if it didn't come with the case. If it did, use the one that came with it. If it didn't, they're cheap online. It's just literally a piece of metal just to hold it up. And it will prevent your card from getting damaged or warping or bending. If I can see what I'm doing. Sorry guys, it's black on black here. It's really difficult. There we go. Okay, that's better. And we get it. Okay, so that's in there. Clicked. Shouldn't come out. I like to also pull the train back a little bit. We're going to do a little more professional job with that. This is okay right now. This is okay. It's fine. I wish there was more than one. One on that thing. All right, well, at least I guess one came with it. You don't want to push this too tight. Again, you want to make sure that this is all the way in. This is not a connector that usually has problems, but the newer NVIDIA one, you may want to make sure that you can't see the gray portions at this point. We're ready to boot at this point, so we're ready to actually boot this up before I go closing everything up. I don't like to close any of the panels until we're booted. And there's a little bit of a stigma here, or not stigma. I guess just kind of a weird thing that we just do. We don't like to close the case until it's fully ready to go because it always seems to be bad luck. So we're just going to move on and we're going to connect it and power it up and see if we get, hopefully we got video. and nothing is broken. Obviously, the light in the front is not going to work. I'm going to have to get a longer cable connection for that. But we will get that. That is not a big deal. It only just says Lian Li. It's not really actually doing anything functional. Except not functioning. Let me get the wire out. Tuck that in there so it doesn't get damaged. Okay, guys, so I'm going to flip this around and connect it up to the display. Bear with me for 2 seconds. Hopefully this will boot. Everybody cross their fingers or something. Oh, hit the camera. Of course. All right. All right. We don't need this keyboard. This keyboard over here. Let me get a keyboard, a mouse. You guys are staring at nothing. Isn't that fun? That's always fun. Okay, so let's get a keyboard and mouse. Mouse. Listen to mouse. Keyboard, mouse. And we need a better keyboard. We don't need that keyboard. We do need the cables back there, though. Okay, let me get some cables plugged in over here. Let me get this out of the way. Everything's in the way like usual. Everything's wrapped around everything. Okay. All right, so we got power, Ethernet. We're not going to plug the Ethernet in. We're going to boot off Windows without that, so we don't have to do a Microsoft account. We don't want to do a Microsoft account. Let's put this over here. Why am I wrapped? Cable management, Brian. Cable management. Everything's wrapped around everything. There we go. Okay. Okay, better. Need a keyboard and mouse. Still. Now, let me push this forward a little bit. Oh. All right, keyboard, mouse. Mouse. USB 2.0, yeah, that's good. That's good connection. And keyboard. My keyboard's way too big for this. Let's get the small keyboard. Small keyboard. Small keyboard. Smaller keyboard. All right. Do we know the USB 2.0? Yeah. Right here. You want to put your keyboard and mouse in the USB 2.0 slots. You don't need like USB 3 or something for a keyboard and mouse. You don't want to waste that. I would rather put your plugs to something like a hard drive or something like that to be better. Let's also plug up the monitor. That'd be helpful. I gotta plug it into the graphic card. HDMI. Okay. Power, and we're not going to plug the Ethernet in. Like I said before, we're going to leave it disconnected for now, just so we don't have to do a Microsoft account. Where's my USB flash drive? It got buried. Oh, man. Okay, hold on 1 second, guys. Sorry. Flash drive. That flash drive it's lost every time. I should not put it on the desk. This is the problem. This is a big problem. Put things on the desk that don't belong on the desk. Okay. Ah, there you go. Found it. All right. We're good. Okay. So I already prepared a flash drive with Windows 11 on it. We're going to use that to boot off of. I also got the BIOS on here. I also got the drivers. What else do we have on here? No install programs or nothing like that, but usually we do that too. But we got all the drivers and everything else. We're going to plug this into a faster USB port, just because I don't want to be sitting here all day. That's better for that. We're going to load that up. And let's get the power button. Power is not on the front, is it? It's on the other side. All right, I hit the button. Hit the button. I get the button? No. No. No power. Oh. You gotta flip the switch on the power supply. Okay, okay, that was a false alarm. Take two. There we go. Oh, wow. That is bright. Okay. Let's put that up there. Let's also put this up there. Okay. Does it boot? Oh, we are booted. Look at that. I had no doubt that it would do this. Okay, new CPU installed. This is normal. TFTP, blah, 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 corrupted. That happens every time when you boot a new machine. Just hit yes, it'll reset it. If you have BitLocker already installed, you're doing like an upgrade, this will be bad if you don't have your recovery key. So let's hit yes on this. Let's just get into the BIOS. Let's get into the BIOS. Sometimes it does a reboot. This is normal. Okay, it says press F1 to continue. F1. Okay, now we're in the BIOS. Yay. All right, so in the BIOS, we're going to update the BIOS really quickly. If I can see the screen. Sorry, guys, this is... my setup is always horrible. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to F7 because I like the advanced mode more. I really despise this thing. So let's go to F7. We're going to go over to BIOS Q dashboard. Is that what they're calling it now? No. This machine's really quiet. Those fans are barely moving. Temperature's at 37. That's great. By the way, I'm just looking at the right. I'm just looking at the right side over here. So, if you guys are wondering where I'm looking at, actually, I have a mouse. There we go. 36, 37. What we didn't do though is we're gonna need to do. You know, let me get rid of myself out of here so I can see everything. Up, it's up at the top. I knew I missed it. ASUS Easy Flash Utility. They're going to go into that, and we have the drive plugged in already. So we're just going to go over to the cap file that I made, which was A5653.cap. It's just the newest BIOS. So we're going to hit enter on this. Please back up your BitLocker recovery key. Yes, you should always do that if you are using BitLocker. I don't recommend BitLocker, but you know, there's other encryption software out there that's better. So if you need something encrypted, you can go with that. But if you just want something simple and easy, BitLocker usually is it. So, but anyways, you should have all that stuff backed up before you start all of this. So hit yes. Do you want to read the file? I don't know why it's asking you such a stupid question. Yes. No, I don't want to read the file. I just came in here for no reason. Okay. So now it's just going to confirm, do you want to update your BIOS? It's going to give you the revision. This BIOS was literally 10 days ago, 13 days ago, which is not bad. So we're going to update it. Before you update your BIOS, you should always make sure you update with a UPS battery plugged in, just in case something goes wrong. You'll want to have that backup power just in case for that. It may do a reboot, it may do a bunch of different things. This is normal. Just wait, do not touch the power button, do not do anything. It's like a car wash, off the gas, off the brake, leave it in neutral. You know what I mean? Well, it should just do its thing. So it says processing, it's gonna go through that. It's gonna go through updating area 1, through whatever. This is normal. Just wait it out, be patient. This is a little bit of a process. You're going to have to wait. Eventually, when this goes through, we're updating area 5, whatever the hell that is. Don't worry, it's just going to go through a bunch of stuff, updating areas and stuff like that. That's okay. But also sometimes, ASUS especially does a reboot first before it starts updating. Gigabyte kind of does it right away. MSI kind of does it right away. ASUS is the only one that I've noticed that has to do a reboot before it does the BIOS update. So this is normal. By the way, do not set XMP yet until you are done with all of this. XMP should be done after the BIOS update, because if you do the BIOS update, it will take off XMP for your memory, and then you'll end up back to where you started, which is a slower memory. So, this is going to take a while. After this is done, then we're going to load up Windows and load up the drivers. I'm not going to do testing on the stream, so if you guys were expecting testing, I'm sorry. We don't really do a lot of testing because it gets really boring. It literally is just like watching the test run. So it's not very exciting. But what do we normally test with? We test it with a few different things. I don't know if we have the new 3D Mark. I gotta double check that if we have the new one. If we don't, we'll go get it. We test with 3D Mark. We test with a few other pieces of software just to make sure that the GPU is outputting what it's supposed to be outputting. We also double check the driver and make sure that the driver has everything loaded correctly. We always load the newest drivers from AMD or the motherboard. We also get all of that downloaded directly. We don't use whatever comes with the machine. Sometimes it comes with the disk. We just toss the disk because it's pointless. We usually get the newest driver from online. It's probably too far back anyway. All right, we're going. This is not very exciting content, I know. It's literally just a progress bar. So during this time, it's just gotta wait it out. Gotta wait till this is done. And then we're gonna load up Windows 11. The customer did choose Windows 11 because they're using it for business and for gaming. So that's the easiest one to use. Linux is a little harder. If you guys are interested in Linux, you let me know in the comments below. I'll actually do something with Linux if you're interested. Not a lot of people are. It has come a long way, but there's a lot of weirdness with Linux, and there's a lot of different distros, and it's very confusing. So, that's why I kind of recommend Windows just for gaming, just because it's easy. It's also going to play most of their titles a lot smoother because they're just made for Windows. Not totally true, though. I mean, there's a lot made for Linux. It's just a lot of the first-person shooters is a good example that, or anything with anti-cheat, you really can't run on Linux. But that might change in the future, and I'm hoping it does, because honestly, Windows is not bad. It's just, it's a little bit overkill for gaming, actually. All right, we're in reboot. We're going to go back into the BIOS once it comes up. It may, again, be very patient with this. You may go to a black screen for a little while. That's what happens with the update. It's just the way it works. It's going to say, please enter setup to recover your BIOS settings. Push F1 to enter your BIOS. So we're going to do F1. I'm going to turn myself off again because this is kind of annoying. There we go. So when you're in here, you want to double check your fan profiles. You want to double check your Expo settings. I say XMP, but it's Expo. So you're going to enable that. It's going to bring your RAM up to DDR5 6000, which is what it's supposed to be. If it was down below that, obviously you're not getting the full benefit of your RAM. You may want to check your fan curves when you get a chance. Right now I'm going to leave it on default because it's fine for now. But when I go through actual real testing, I will be going back through and double checking fan controls, making sure they're set up correctly. I also will have the case closed when we go to do fan control because that's really how it's going to run. Right now I have it open, so there's no real reason to do that. That's all I really change in here, except for the, what's that stupid thing? That ASUS control panel garbage. Oh, they hide it every time. It's in here somewhere. Oh, auto install ASUS utilities. Turn that crap off. That's just junk. It installs a whole bunch of junk you don't need. So just take it out. BIOS Q dashboard. I don't know what that is. We're not going to mess with anything else right now because there's nothing else to really mess with. We're going to boot off my Kingston flash drive. We should double check to make sure we have a hard drive. Don't worry about the date and time. That's going to be reset anyway. All right, everything else seems to be okay. So let's go over to save. It's going to update those settings. That's fine. It's going to reboot. Now that we're going to Expo, the system may take a little longer to boot because it's got to go through its training process again. So anytime it's got to go through memory training, it may take a little longer to reboot. This is normal. This is typical for most machines, for AMD at least. Intel's a little faster about that. They use XMP. It's a little different, but it's the same concept. It overclocks your RAM is really what it's doing. It's a safe overclock. Okay, it's safe to some degree. Okay, it may reboot twice. It's probably rebooting again. It should boot off the flash drive eventually when we get to that. Now, if the Expo settings didn't take, there may be a problem with the RAM also. It should have taken by now. There we go. And that's going to load up Windows because it's booting up my flash drive that's here. Okay, once you're in Windows, the fun part begins. You hit Next. Choose your language, choose your keyboard input, in this case US. We're installing Windows 11. You have to agree to everything, even if you don't, you do anyway. And next, we're not going to put a product key in for right now. So I'm going to say I don't have a product key, but we would normally put a product key in at this point. We're getting things for you running, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're going to choose Windows. We're going to choose Windows 11 Pro because that's the version we're going with. And don't choose the N options. N options are not for you, so don't do that. Windows 11 Pro is fine. Unless you bought an education license, then use the education one. If you haven't, then just leave it the way it is. 11 Pro. Accept the agreement because you have no choice. You can read it later if you want. I recommend you do. Okay, so it comes up with all your drives, including the flash drive. We're not installing on a flash drive. We're installing on the biggest drive, which is the disk 0 unallocated space, 1 whole terabyte. We're doing one big partition, okay? At this point, this is up to the customer or a regular person if they want to have 2 partitions or if they want to do multiple hard drives or something, you can do this here. At this point, we're just going to create 1 partition, and we're going to choose that one. We're not keeping anything. It's just re-explaining what you're doing. Hit install. When it's installing, you're going to see that it goes over to this side. It's at 10%. It's going to go pretty quick. This flash drive that I have plugged in is pretty fast, so it shouldn't take too long, hopefully. While this installs, you should probably already have everything loaded onto your flash drive, but I have other videos that explain how to load that flash drive, how to load up Windows 11 onto a flash drive, how to create all of the stuff that's on that flash drive with no problem. So if you're interested in that, you can always go back to our video catalog and dig through that. After this is loaded, we'll also load our bloatware removal tool. We made a little script that just basically erases a lot of the junk that Windows 11 loads. It just gets it down to bare basics. You can always reinstall anything that we remove. So there's not like it's permanent, but it's just an easier way to remove the junk. By junk, I mean like a lot of things like Microsoft OneDrive. Like that should be an option to you, not a given installation. You know, using Edge as your main browser, we usually change that to Chrome or Firefox or whatever you like. You could also still use Edge if you want. Edge is also built on Chrome. So technically speaking, when you use Edge, you're using Chrome. But it's Microsoft's version of that. yeah, there's not much to it. We also load all the programs for the customer and stuff like that. We're not going to show that on stream. We're just going to get into Windows, load the drivers, show you how the drivers work, load all of that stuff, and then we're going to wrap up. So this is going to be a few more minutes. Okay, it's going to reboot a few times. This is normal. Leave the drive in. Do not take the drive out, the flash drive, even if it reboots. Just leave it. This is normal. Eventually. Let's stay this time on this one, huh? There it goes. Reboots with Expo on will always take a little longer. It does have to do a memory retrain once in a while, especially when we unplug it for a very long time. The computer will take a little longer to complete that. So expect that to happen. Also, once in a while, when you shut the computer off for a very long time, the Expo settings will require another retrain, which will maybe take a little while for that to come on. By the way, when that comes on, you'll see that your keyboard doesn't even light up, mouse doesn't light up, nothing works until it figures out how to boot. So just be patient, don't push the power button again, because you don't have to go through that memory cycle again. And it's really mostly with AMD that I found this. With Intel, it's a little less problematic. It's just the way it works. But the system works really well. There's nothing else beyond that. Once you get into the operating system and do everything else, it's going to be great. This is the installation process. It's not very fast. It's always kind of slow at this point. It's always decompressing something, doing something. You just got to wait it out. Now, when we get into the user setup here, or out-of-box experience, we usually set everything up for the customer because we want to set up a local user account. You can do a Microsoft account if you feel like it. It doesn't really add many benefits to your system by going into a Microsoft account, but you can. The problem with a Microsoft account also is that if you get locked out and your internet doesn't work, you won't be able to get back into your computer. So that's another problem, which has happened before. And that's why we don't do it. It's very buggy in that aspect. But it's up to you. You don't have to do that. I always recommend having at least one local user account, just in case something like that happens. You can get back into your operating system, reset the other user, get the internet back up and running, and then go from there. But if you don't have the internet on any of the users and you get locked out of your Microsoft account, you will be locked out of your computer. And for laptops, it happens a lot more often than you think. We're going to skip the second key. We don't have two keyboards. We're just going to skip that. We're going to lie and say we don't have internet, just so I can make a local user account. It's going to ask for a local user. We're going to make one called V1 for boot once. We're going to leave the password empty for now. You should choose a password. And we're into the setup. So, hi, getting things ready for you. Please don't turn your computer off, blah, blah, blah. This may take a few minutes. Feels like hours. Okay. Gonna wait. This setup is usually about the same speed on every machine. There's not really much of a difference. It still just takes, even with the highest performing machine, you're still going to be waiting a while. And once that goes through, we'll be at the desktop. We can start doing drivers. And then we can connect the internet. I usually connect the internet after I do the drivers, because, well, first of all, the network card may or may not even work. And then second of all, I don't want it loading any of the Windows drivers. I would like to have our own drivers. If there's a driver already present, it doesn't have to do that. So we're going to do a little bit of the drivers beforehand. We're going to go over to my flash drive. I made a folder called V1. I'm just going to cut that. I'm going to put it on the C drive. Paste it over. Take a second. There we go. Like I said, that flash drive is really fast. It shouldn't take very long at all, especially if the drivers were actually copied. There we go. Okay. Did it copy? Should have moved everything. Okay, cool. All right, so when we're ready, we're not going to load the AMD driver off the bat because the problem is that it requires a web installation. So we're going to need the drivers before then. What we're going to do is we're going to do everything else. So we're going to extract all because they're all zipped up. How do I know they're zipped? When you select it, it says extract all, or you could just check the extension and it'll show a zip, or you can check the icon, it has a little zipper on it. That means it's zipped up, so it's a zip file. So let's extract all, and then we're going to run them one at a time. Do ASUS setup is fine. Going to run. It can't check Microsoft to see if this is a good or a bad file. I've already checked and scanned these files before I started, so it's fine. But you know, if you're concerned, you can plug in the Ethernet adapter first, and you know, have it cross-check against Microsoft if you want. I'm gonna run. Oop, didn't run. Did it extract? It's running. It's taking its time. All right, we're going to do chipset also, extract. I like to just do all of them all at once before I do a reboot. You can do reboots in between if you want. This is extracting. That's going to probably be replaced, that chipset driver, but audio we did, Bluetooth we did, LAN. So this is the network adapter. Do setup. One. This is all okay, just install. The RAID driver may or may not be needed. I'm going to load it anyway. If it's not needed, it's just going to say it doesn't need it. Yeah, these look like they're probably not needed. It's probably fine. That's for like a RAID driver installation. But this one also has Wi-Fi, so we're going to install the Wi-Fi adapter as well. The Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth isn't going to work until you plug in the antennas. I'm not going to plug in the antennas. We have Ethernet here. It's fine. I will do a test on the Wi-Fi before we distribute it back. Usually that test is just a basic quick Ethernet test. We're not doing that today, but we will do it before it gets dropped off. Make sure the Wi-Fi works and it works at the right speed is really the most important part. And distance, but mostly speed. Okay, we're just waiting for that driver to go in, and then we're going to do this one and do a restart. We can't do a restart right now until this is finished. We're also going to set the date and time. That's also incorrect right now, but we're going to plug in the Ethernet to do that. And we have to set the time zone, which we're going to do right now. So date and time. Just going to go to the time zone. It's on Pacific. It should be on Eastern. There we go. Time's still wrong. It's got to do a reboot. I'm going to plug in the Ethernet at this point. Since we're good to go, hopefully this will go a little faster. I'm going to unplug my flash drive. I don't need this at this point. AMD is going to be, the AMD driver I have to load still, so. Almost done. We're in the final stretch. This reboot takes a while. So how do we test this system? Once we're pretty much got all of this installed, we run we do some benchmarking just to make sure it's coming up at the proper speed. We're also going to make sure that the graphic card driver is working properly at the highest speed it possibly could go. There's some overclocking that we do, but if the board doesn't support it, we won't do it. We won't just do a random overclock. We will do something that's stable. We usually don't overclock the CPU. We leave the CPU alone as it is because it's pretty well tuned out. But the graphic card settings are sometimes we'll have to make sure that that's working properly. Audio looks like it came up also. Yeah. We don't need to repair. We're done. Okay, so that's done. Let me double check Device Manager really quickly. I know we still got to load a few more things. Yeah, graphic needs to be loaded. But we need the internet for that. So we're going to go back. We're going to go to the internet when the internet's plugged in. We're going to now do drivers, AMD Adrenalin software. Go with it. Run it. It's going to load the newest driver, the newest chipset driver, and the newest graphic card driver. So it's going to do both. We're just going to accept and do Express as recommended. We're going to uncheck this stupid thing for AMD. We're not giving out our survey or stats. That's fine. We don't need to do that. It will download and extract. It'll also automatically update your driver on a daily basis, so you don't have to do that either. While this is running, just double check your device manager. It looks like everything else is set except for the graphic card. So that's going through right now. What we also want to do is we're going to run a cleanup, Windows PowerShell. We're going to clean up all the bloatware, run it as administrator. What we also are doing right now, we're doing two tasks obviously at once. We're doing this. This is going to flicker the screen eventually when it gets all the way installed. That is normal, so just expect that. But right now, what I'm going to do is remove the bloatware. So to do that, we go to Windows 11, type how to, and we'll just get the little policy thing. Go bypass. So I can uninstall programs. We're going to remove bloatware. And it's just going to go through and take all that garbage out. Now you should probably run this after you do the Windows updates, because it'll probably reinstall some of it. I just want to show you guys how to do it, because obviously this is, I don't want you to wait for all the Windows updates to go in. All the Windows updates are probably pushing in the background. Maybe not. It's supposed to be. So we're now on 25H2, and we're going to it's probably going to have a few bunch of updates that have just released in the last few months that are not going to be part of that installation. So it'll eventually show up and do its thing. Wow, this driver's a little larger, huh? Okay. And we're almost done. Come on, come on, come on. We're getting there. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of updates. You're going to have security updates. It's trying to load this other driver. This is another problem. When you connect to the internet, Microsoft will try to download its AMD driver. I don't know why. Honestly, there's another way to turn that garbage off. Right now, we're just going to let it go, and then we're just going to make sure that this one stays in place. We like to leave it as a backup driver, just in case something goes really wrong. You can easily at least have still graphics that are working. So the date and time are still really wrong. Time settings, we gotta just redo the sync. That should give me 3:30 p.m. something like that. Yeah, there we go. All right, so that's it. We wait for this to install, and we'll be pretty much done. It's got to flicker the screen and just flicker the screen. That means the driver's going in. Let's switch over to me. All right, guys. So basically, this is it. This is, basic Windows install. We're going to probably have another video with how we do the testing. If you guys are interested in that, leave a comment down below, and we'll be sure to maybe record something like that in the future. And yeah, that's basically it. This is Windows 11 installed on a nice gaming machine. This will definitely handle most of the new titles. If you're doing anything with random new titles, you may want NVIDIA. If you want NVIDIA, you can also buy an NVIDIA graphic card. We have an NVIDIA build tomorrow, so you're welcome to watch that. We also have a few other NVIDIA builds that are previously in our library. So if you want to look at those, you can. And we'll hope to see you guys soon. I'm Brian from Boot Once, and I'm going to sign out. And